We know as well that Parliament is resuming its activities in the chambers today after a break, which happened in April. The MPs took a break just to do constituency work, but now we are expecting that they'll converge once more in that very controversial chamber, as it is being termed now. So what are we to expect, and how differently should the Legislative Chamber be conducting its business going forward? Joining us now is Dr. Rashid Rahman, Executive Director, Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs. Doc, such a good time to be speaking to you this morning. So we know that there were some outstanding matters when Parliament actually went on a little break. They are returning. Which of them would you want to see the House restart with, really? There are so many issues, from absenteeism to so many controversies on the floor of the House. But what's paramount for you as the House begins business today?
Well, a very good morning to you. I think the big issue after e-levy is the issue of absenteeism and the referral to the Privileges Committee. That was done by the Right Honorable Speaker before the House went on recess, albeit there were controversies even around that in terms of procedure and so on and so forth. Nonetheless, I think the Privileges Committee, I would assume, has done its work. And now it's time to bring the matter back to the plenary. And I think Ghanaians are expecting to see some closure on this matter, because over the years, Parliament after Parliament, this issue of absenteeism has been a thorn, if you like, in the flesh of our legislature. And I just hope that this time around, Parliament will get it right and set a very good example to the extent that you are hired to show up and work, and if you don't show up, I think the rules that Parliament itself set for the House should be allowed to take course. So that's the first one that I would.
And on that point, I recall speaking to the aide of the Dom Kwabena MP, Sarah Joseph, who's been at the center of all of this, and the indication we're getting from these political appointees, or persons working around the MPs, that she may be back this time round. Will that be good news, or perhaps you feel the damage has already been caused?
Well, that would be good news. I thought she was back because the Privileges Committee, I don't know how they did their work. Maybe they did that virtually, because each and every one of the three MPs, I believe, should have had their day before the committee to explain themselves and maybe tender in any evidence that there is in terms of why they've been caught by that provision in the standing orders of Parliament. If she's coming back, I think that is good news, not only for Parliament, but I believe for also the Ministry of Gender and Social Protection, particularly at this time. I just saw on your screens, flooding that is going on in our country, all the people that are going to be caught in this, particularly people that are very, very vulnerable in our society. They need protection, and I think that this minister is at the center of it, and she can't be absent, both from the ministry and from Parliament. So I think it's good news that she's going to be around.
Interesting point you're raising there. We all were of the view that we've gone past the deadlock in Parliament, obviously as the e-levy has now been passed, but then government is giving us some clear indications that another controversial piece of legislation, or perhaps ratification, would have to take place, and it's got to do with the Ejapa deal, for instance. The minority has already served notice that it will not compromise on that. Many say we're in for another troubling time, right?
Yes, indeed. I think that's the next issue, the Ejapa deal. We had civil society, we had the Minister for Finance, we had the former president, we had the minority group in Parliament. For me, I think that what I am hoping that the leadership of Parliament would do is to learn very important lessons from what happened during all the issues and the controversies surrounding the e-levy, so that both from the executive side, from the side of the ministry,
Right.
from the majority in Parliament, and then from the side of the minority as well, there are very important lessons that need to be learned. Because, look, at the end of the day, when there is chaos, the picture, the portrait that is painted of our Parliament is not a good one, and it affects both those in the majority and the minority. So I hope they have learned some lessons and that they are going to do things differently. It has to take a lot of negotiation. For instance, e-levy came in, many said the minority was not consulted before, there were no discussions before, and so on and so forth. What is it that is going to be done differently this time around? So that at the end of the day, if there is any give and take that needs to take place, that is done before the bill makes its way to the House, so that we avoid those chaotic scenes that visited all of us during the course of the passage of the e-levy.
And we know that the Speaker will be critical, his role will be critical in bringing together the House. But from what you see now, do you see the House coming back on a peaceful note, particularly when the Speaker himself has raised some concerns about some persons within the majority side undermining his authority? Dr. Rashid, I hope you can hear me. I'm asking about the concern of the Speaker. We know that the Speaker obviously will be critical in uniting the House if it is, if there is a need for the House to run smoothly. But he's been raising concerns about some individuals undermining his authority. What's your take on such developments as well?
Well, I think both the minority and the majority side have a lot of work to do, because at the beginning, many thought that the challenge to the Speaker's authority, or if you like, perhaps his way of running the business of the House, was just a concern only for the majority side. But you remember, I think we saw the minority whip on his feet just during the last hours of their sitting to challenge or, if you like, raise objections to the Right Honorable Speaker when the matter of the referral to the Privileges Committee was being discussed. So there are, yes, I think issues both from the majority side, but also from the minority side. And I think that is why there is leadership in Parliament, so that, all these issues, matters that are controversial or matters that are likely to generate any debate or disagreement among the leadership, I think those matters could be resolved amongst them before they make their way to the plenary, because we don't want them to be projecting an image of disagreement, particularly with the Right Honorable Speaker, and then disagreement amongst themselves is okay. But when we begin to see very serious cracks, and just remember, our legislature is the only arm of government for which all Ghanaians see what is going on at almost every stage, and that is the barometer for the health of our democracy.
Right.
And if what we see is disagreements, what we see is chaos, what we see is an image that they cannot see eye to eye, and they cannot sit down, disagree, but run the business of our country in a very decorous manner. Then very bad signals are being sent.
Very troubling signals, yes, indeed. But we need to be wrapping up, but obviously we can't go without talking about the concerns of the Santro Kofi Akpafo Lulubi heirs as well. They've been crying that they've been without representation in Parliament for quite some time now. They're turning their heat on the speaker now, mounting pressure that at least they'll be able to get some leeway so the Electoral Commission could go ahead and organize fresh elections in the area. Do you see that happening easily?
Well, I mean, I have to tell you, it continues to baffle me, how Parliament can sit, if you like, unconcerned. I thought that this should be the number one matter that should have occupied the attention of the 8th Parliament. So we can't have an incomplete democracy. We can't have a group that is not represented in Parliament. So I think on that matter, I'll just leave it at that. But let me take advantage of this platform to say that one other matter that I would like to see Parliament look at is the raging controversy about the Achimota forest. Because, I mean, this is a matter of a lot of public concern. I think in the last few days, if there's any matter that is being discussed in our country, is that matter. And definitely, Parliament needs to get involved in this so that at least we are clear as a country what is it exactly is going on. I mean, we need the truth. We need some transparency. And we don't have to live in what is called just a civilian rule. I think we are in a democracy, and democracy, comes with two key ingredients: accountability and transparency.
Right,
and I think Parliament must be the way on that.
Right, and Doc, what we know about that is that the minority, specifically the ranking on the Lands Committee in Parliament, they are serving notice already that they would be hauling the minister before the House just to answer some questions together with the Forestry Commission. But knowing that the de-gazette or the declassification of the Achimota Forest has got to do with an executive instrument, I'm just wondering if Parliament has a great oversight in terms of trying to question the President's decision.
Well, I mean, let me tell you, there is nothing in our republic that is beyond Parliament. I mean, people can interpret the law anyhow they want it, but there is nothing beyond Parliament in every republic. So this is a matter of public interest. I mean, Parliament needs to get involved. We need the truth. I think the right things must be done.
Yeah, but I'm asking a question about simply because of this whole difficulty that we may have in terms of having Jubilee House cooperate with MPs, particularly when it's got to do with some discretionary powers of the President.
Well, I mean, that is where I would hope that there's unity in Parliament. Because you see, over the years, once we get to some of these controversial matters, then you see the party lines being drawn, and the interest of the citizens and the interest of the country gets thrown aside. And I just hope that this time around, because we can't be living one controversy after another. That is not good for our democracy, and that can spell doom. I mean, if we are all not careful. And
if
when there's doom,
right, if the parliamentary option fails, will courts be the appropriate means for us to settle this?
Sorry?
If the parliamentary option fails, will the courts be the appropriate platform for us to deal with this?
Well, I guess we have no choice because, I mean, if we truly live in a democracy, I think we have to go by the rule of law. I mean, so if Parliament fails, I think it will be the courts. And I just hope that the courts will live up to the expectations of the citizenry.
All right, then. Dr. Rashid Draman, thank you for joining us. He's the Executive Director for the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs. We need to apologize for the poor quality of sound there. But this conversation is not ended yet. In fact, we need to hear from the MPs themselves. Joining us will be one of the MPs who's very passionate about the issues we're talking about now. Roxy Nelson Dafiamako is joining us right here on the AM show. It's all coming up right after this break. Please stay.